Hey, welcome back to the Invisible Strength podcast. We feature autoimmune athletes and chronic illness warriors doing incredible things with their conditions. Today's guest is absolutely no different. He is battling stage 4 cancer, but still training for the Ironman World Championships, which is unbelievable, even if you don't have stage 4 cancer. Jim, it's truly an honor to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you're new here, I'm the co-host Karin Wagner, and I'm joined by my amazing podcast partner, Chris Burton. Good to see you, Chris.
Always good to see you, Karen, and so excited to talk with you, Jim.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Jim, for people who aren't familiar with you, can you just share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I was born September 30, 1964, which makes me about 61 years old, approaching 62. I guess I'll be 62 on September 30th of this year. As I go to Kona October 10th, I'll turn 62 and then hopefully finish the Ironman in Kona. But I was born and raised in New Jersey, went to high school in Europe from 78 to 82 in Germany, moved back to the States and spent some time in the Northeast building and remodeling. Moved to Georgia in 93. I met my wife, married her in 96. I've been happily married to Kelly for 30 years now. I think she's been happily married for 25 of those years. She'd probably say 22, but it's not easy being married to an extreme sports guy, which I tend to be
Right.
sort of extreme anyway, but I'm just kidding. We've had a wonderful marriage. I have a 21-year-old son. I built a home inspection business for 30 years, which I just recently retired from. And I had crafted this really, what I would say is just this pristinely perfect life that I was really, really happy with, and entering the final stage of my life, hoping for a, nice retirement, whatever that means. And suddenly out of the blue at age 59 and a half in the first week of April 2024, I had been feeling fatigued and some symptoms that were just not normal. Fatigue is normal for an Ironman. You're tired all the time. So I didn't place too much weight on that. And I probably ignored a few symptoms and just chalked it up for, whatever. You don't have a symptom and then suddenly say, oh, I must have stage 4 cancer. Especially someone like me who I've never had a sniffle. I don't get colds. I don't get sick. I've never been in a hospital. And I go to the doctor and he comes out with stage 4 metastatic colorectal cancer. That's really late stage and really not a lot of options at the time. So the words I remember are terminal, 6 months to 2 years, and not a lot of options. So, it takes them some time to identify the type of cancer and what type of drugs are available to you. I was fortunate in the final analysis that I had the right markers for a monoclonal antibody, which I really believed was very, very helpful in killing my tumors. Because as I sit here today, 26 months out, I'm no evidence of disease for the second time in 2 years. I achieved no evidence of disease in September of 25 when they removed my rectum.
Yeah.
And then the tumors came back in the 1st of January, 3 golf ball sized tumors when the year started. And we went back on the chemo, 6 rounds of chemo, killed the tumors, but 2 giant blood clots on my jugular put me in the hospital for 7 days. While I
Hmm.
was in the hospital, again, at a very low point, thinking, I'm never gonna get to Kona. This is never gonna work. Again, I felt like I was dying. And sure enough, I get the news. I'm no evidence of disease. We're gonna fix the blood clots and you're good to go. Although I did just have another surgery to fix a prolapsing ileostomy, because when they took my rectum out, now have the ostomy and the stoma on the belly. So just another challenge to work around, work through. So, but it's been a difficult, I would say, it's 26 months. I've done 24 chemotherapy sessions, 5 radiation treatments, and then the surgeries to include the removal of 40% of my colon, 60% of my liver, all of my gallbladder, all of my rectum, resulting in the ostomy, which I just had repaired. So I've got my fingers crossed that I can get 3 months between now and Kona without any medical issues. But I think that's a lot to ask in the cancer world when things change daily. So
Hmm.
I still remain optimistic.
Yeah. And that optimism just shines through in speaking with you, Jim. Talk to us about that journey mentally, from the time you get the news until the time where you're like, life is for the living. I'm going to keep going.
Man,
How did you get to that point?
yeah. So day one initial diagnosis, I'm actually pretty close with the doctor who diagnosed me, Dr. Drehush, and there's not much to be said. So I left his office, and didn't really know what to do. So I just went and sat on a park bench out front there, probably for about an hour, just by myself, like, not even really comfortable driving my truck home. I only live 3 miles from the doctor's office, but
Right.
It's really just, I mean, mind blowing is the only way to describe it, because one minute I'm the healthiest guy I know. I'm the healthiest guy
Hmm.
people I know. And for me to get struck like this out of the blue, no, it's just the chasm between where I was 5 minutes ago and where I am now. It was just a lot to take in, and it was overwhelming. So I didn't know what to do. And my first thoughts were, what am I going to tell my wife and my son? My second thought is, what am I going to do about, finishing this Ironman, which I have yet to finish an Ironman. So that kind of shows you where Ironman ranks in my hierarchy of importance.
Yeah.
Family, Ironman's real close.
Right, right, right.
But that's just a personal achievement I wanted to kind of get out of the way before I died. But I went home and told my son I didn't have too much trouble with that. But then when it came time to tell my wife, I couldn't speak. I lost the ability to formulate words. I just cried.
Yeah.
I just couldn't tell her that I may not be around much longer. And the other funny part was I had to explain to her that there may be a few projects around the house that don't get done, because she's always giving me a little bit of a hard time about things not
Yeah.
getting done. It's like, I'm running out of time now, so I don't know what to tell you. But initially it was a shock for everybody. Like I said, I went and tried to do the Ironman in Texas with cancer, no treatment. I got about 8 hours in and had to quit. It was really disappointing. And then I came home. Texas was a good distraction. Coming home, now I'm starting chemo. Same thing. I go to the chemo building and I sit in front of the building for 30 minutes contemplating whether or not I even want to do treatment. They say I'm going to die in 6 months, 2 years. What's the point?
Right, right.
It
Yeah.
was like I could die on my own terms. I don't have to do this chemo and wither away and lose a bunch of
Hmm.
weight and, have all the bad things that come along with chemo. So
Right.
I was afraid. I was afraid to go in. I was afraid of chemo. I was afraid of cancer. I was afraid of dying. And fear was the overwhelming emotion that was dominating me. I did walk in the building mostly because I just figured for my wife and son, I'd do the best I could to live as long as I could. And just walked in and did it. So the chemo sessions were long and hard and brutal. And, over time, I guess I got used to it. You adapt. But through the process, the first 6 months, I'm closing bank accounts, shutting down my business, looking at insurance policies, trying to straighten out finances. This is
Right.
a morbid practice to close out your own life.
Hmm.
One bank account at a time. Is like, yep, don't need that anymore. Checking on insurances, wondering if my, family's going to be okay financially. Fortunately, we are. I've been self-employed my whole life, so I've always planned for insurance, whether it's,
Hmm.
I have very good health insurance and life insurance. So all those aspects were in order.
Hmm.
I'd say I was about 6 months in. So I'd say I came back from Texas having a bad Ironman, but within about a week, I signed up for another one, Chattanooga 24. And initially, these big races are about the finish line. And my mindset had shifted, and it was really got to be more about the start line. I knew that there
Hmm.
was a good chance I wasn't going to finish, but just getting to the start line was a goal that kept me going day to day. And then we'll see what happens. The Ironman motto is anything's possible. So you get me to the start line and we'll see what happens. So that was what kept me focused. But I went to Chattanooga and had an even worse time. I had been on chemo all summer. I'd lost 35 pounds. I had a level 3 skin infection, which is really bad. And I looked like I was dying. I felt like I was dying. And, the doctor's predictions were just coming true. And I had accepted that in my mind. After I came back from Chattanooga, another disappointing experience, I really felt like I was dying. And I just kind of gave up and surrendered everything to God at that point and said,
Hmm.
I'm just going to worry about today and let God handle whatever's going to happen to me in the future. The only thing I prayed for was to die with some dignity in a way that did the least harm possible to my family. I didn't pray
Hmm.
for longer life or a cure. I just accepted the fact that this is my fate. And a week later, I got a scan that said all the tumors in my liver had disappeared except for a few tiny ones, which opened up a surgical option that was not available previously. For me, that was divine intervention. I know some people say, well, the cancer, the chemo worked, and it probably did. But to me, that was the shift, the green light that said, all right, you're not dying, you're living. And these doctors don't know what they're talking about. They can't predict the future. They said there was no options. They said there was no hope. And here I have an option. They cut 60% of my liver out, and then they take the gallbladder. I don't know why. They just do. Whenever they do that liver surgery, they just take the gallbladder. Cool thing about the liver is it grows back. My liver grew back in 3 months. And you don't need a gallbladder. I don't miss it at all. I do miss my rectum. I wish I had that back. And you got plenty of colon. So even though they've removed a bunch of my organs, I tell my wife, I'm half the man I used to be for sure. But yeah, so that as soon as that happened, it was like a light switch. I was going 100 miles. I was headed, directly into the grave, planning my death. Turn around, going, look, they don't know, and if this is possible, what else is possible? So the liver surgery went well. There was a couple little tumors that popped up after the surgery, which is not uncommon. Did a little more chemo, got rid of that. Then we were able to go in and get the main tumor out of my rectum, which left me no evidence of disease in 18 months. So I went from, terminal 6 months, 2 years to no evidence of disease in 18 months. And that's, it was at that moment that my mindset changed to don't think about dying, worry about living. I'm worried about not living. That's when I decided to write the book, with the purpose of the book being to give faith to the faithless, hope to the hopeless, and prove the Ironman motto that anything's possible. After I started writing the book, I got involved with the Ironman Foundation, which is the charitable wing of the Ironman organization. So I signed up for Ironman Florida. I agreed to raise money for the foundation. I think I raised about $10,000 for that race. And through that process, I got to meet Audra, who is the executive director of the foundation. And she heard about my story, was, impressed with what I was doing, and asked if there's anything she could do for me. I said, yeah, get me into the World Championship in 26. And she said,
Yeah.
done. So now I'm writing a book. I'm going to the World Championship. I retired from my home inspection business. And so my life went from, just completely flipped upside down to a life of meaning and purpose. And, writing the book through the treatment, through the surgeries ended up being better for me. A lot of people are seeming to like the book, but for me, it was a good therapy to put all these thoughts down on paper. And like I said, as I entered into the chemo world and the infusion rooms and the cancer centers, you see a lot of hopelessness, a lot of despair. I've watched a few people die through this
Mhm.
process. And the book really was meant to try to share some of my philosophies, how I keep smiling through all this adversity, how I keep getting up and moving forward regardless of how bad things seem or appear to be. I recently had the realization when I was in the hospital and things were really bad. I was asking myself, as I entered 2026, everything went wrong. My stomach prolapsed, which means my intestines kept flopping out of my belly, and you just shove them back in.
Yeah, yeah.
First time I went to the hospital, the doctor came in, and I figured for sure there's going to be a surgery. I've got 5 or 6 inches of intestines hanging out of my stomach, and the doctor came in. They put table sugar on it, shrunk it, and just shoved it back in. And he's like, yeah, you could do that too at home. So that's what I've been doing for the last 6 months, shoving my intestines back in my belly every time they pop out.
My
But
goodness.
we couldn't do a surgery on the intestines because, well, I'm on chemo and the tumors were more important than this non-medically important thing. So
Right.
I had to do the chemo first, and just everything went wrong in the first part of the year. And I thought, all these obstacles are preventing me from trying to get to my ultimate goal, which is to finish this Ironman. And then I realized that all these obstacles are not meant to prevent me, but to prepare me.
Mm.
When I get to Kona, I'll have 17 hours to finish that race, swim, bike, run, 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, 26.2 mile run. There is nothing you can do to me in 17 hours in the water, on a bike, or on the run that I haven't been through in the previous 30 months. The strength I've developed, the courage I've developed, the faith I've developed, I'm stronger than I've ever been, and I'm more confident than I've ever been, that there's really not much that I can't do if I decide I want to do it. I didn't know how to write a book. I'm not an author. I did that. I had no idea how to get to Kona. I'm going there. So who knows what's next? And so now I look at these not as setbacks, but as opportunities to learn, to grow, to improve. Everything that happens to you in life, there's a purpose behind it. And sometimes it's hard to find it, because hard to find the positive in cancer. But I'm thankful to cancer for so many things. One, for going to Kona. I don't go to Kona without cancer. You got to win your way in, and I'm not that fast.
Yeah.
But one of the things the Ironman organization does, and they have from the beginning, the foundation, they always make room in the race for people with disabilities, people with terminal diseases, people that
Mhm.
are overcoming obstacles that others might find impressive or inspirational. And they do that every single year. You'll see people, last couple of years, we had Chris Nikic, who's the first kid with Down syndrome to do Ironman. We got blind people, people with no legs. I mean, sometimes I feel guilty that I only have cancer
Oof.
compared to what some of these other folks are going through. And that's been kind of helpful to me as well. I remember one day I was having a really bad day and feeling sorry for myself. Things just weren't going my way, and everything was really, really difficult. And I was looking on Instagram, and I scrolled through a thing where there's like a 3, 4-year-old kid on
Mhm.
on a walker, and his challenge of the day was to navigate a 3 or 4 inch concrete curb. He had to get his walker up over the curb and then up onto the sidewalk. and he was struggling and he was crying and his mom wouldn't help him. And she kind of encouraged him through it. And he was elated and thrilled once he got up over that curve. But he's 4 years old. He's got a whole life of this in front of him. I had 60 good years before I got struck, and I'm still living a pretty good life. So
Yeah.
feeling sorry for myself with what the life that this kid has in front of him. There's always somebody that's got it worse than you.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, you can always take your situation and make someone else's better. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where the mindset came from. And I retired from home inspection. And now the only thing that I focus on is when I ask myself the question, what makes a life worth living? And have I done those things? For me now, the simple answer is, what makes a life worth living is how many lives you can impact in a positive way.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the book. That's the purpose of me doing the Ironman. I know a lot of people are inspired by both, and I'm getting so much positive feedback that the real reward is not the giving; it's what you get back.
No.
When someone says something, that they've found something meaningful in the book, or that I'm inspiring them personally and giving them hope, even people without without cancer. I've had a lot of people say, I've been meaning to get back in the gym or back to working out. And, there's always an excuse. And then they're like, oh man, if Jim Logan can do the Ironman with cancer, then I'm going to the gym. What's my excuse?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been the most rewarding part of it. And, right now I don't even feel like I have cancer, although I do have to go back on chemo in the next couple of weeks, just a little maintenance round just to make sure the tumors don't come back. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm still amazed that, like, after you mentioned the Iron Man thing, you still also have your honeydew list. And, like, keeping up with both of those things is just
Yeah.
like
I mean,
props to you.
I did, like I said, I got diagnosed and I kept training for Ironman. Then I started writing the book and now I'm doing the podcast. I replaced all the fascia and soffit on my house because I'm a carpenter. So, I mean, I stay
Yeah.
really, really busy. And I think that's a really good thing when if you idle time in your mind, you can go in some strange places. So,
No question.
the way you keep the darkness out is by just constantly filling your brain with goodness and light and positivity. And it's for a lot of people, they think it comes easy to me, and maybe it does. I'm definitely a natural optimist, but I still
Hmm.
have to work at it.
Hmm.
It has to be intentional. I don't just wake up singing zippity doo dah.
Right, right,
Uh,
right,
you
right.
know, but if you work on it and you're grateful for the good things that you do have, and I think people are happiest when they're in pursuit of something. So I was talking about,
Hmm.
so you talk about that, pursuing happiness. You don't, happiness is in the pursuit. For me personally, if I have something, and this is maybe a little bit of a sin that I committed later in my life, not terrible, but complacency. Married 30 years, son's grown up, business is built and kind of running itself. You get comfortable in your life. We nice house, nice cars, nice things, and you don't maybe pursue things the way you did when you were younger. When
Yeah.
I first got married, when I first started my business, I mean, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and go after all the things I had planned.
Hmm.
And cancer's given me that back. So now my schedule, it's funny because I retired from home inspection thinking I'd have more time. Turns out you still only get 24 hours in a day.
That's
So
it.
so I didn't get more time, but I'm spending my time in a way that I think is more purposeful, more meaningful, certainly for me,
Hmm.
and I'm happy for that. So when you're in pursuit of something huge and you're really passionate about it, like writing the book took over a year. Writing it was easier than publishing it. Publishing it was a I was,
A whole different beast.
jumping through all that hoops and whatnot. So now we're just to the point of promoting it, and so far so good. We got a couple of bestseller statuses on Amazon, and a lot of people are giving me some good reviews. So I was a little nervous, little trepidatious at first because I've never done a creative thing like this before, where I
Hmm.
just didn't want it to not be good. So I initially, family and friends, of course, they're going to tell you it's good. So I waited for a few people who didn't necessarily know me to
Yeah.
give me a more honest review, and I've gotten some really good reviews for some really people that I consider to be pretty smart. So I'm proud of the product I produced, and I didn't care how long it took. I just wanted it to be good.
Of course.
And so, initially the book, it seems like maybe a book about triathlon, and it is. And maybe then it seems like a book about cancer, and it is. But it's really more a book about faith and family and just my day to day, the way I approach each and every day in my life and how to, I think everybody can pull something out of it. So I've talked to young people in the teenage years and old people as old as well over 90 and men and women. Everybody pulls something different out of the book. So
Hmm.
I like that too. So everybody's finding something different in there. But yeah, it's just a little memoir of my life and mostly going through in real time what I'm going through. and I'm still in it.
Right.
It's not over yet. So
Right.
I'm still smack dab right in the middle of it. But sometimes I need to go back and read some of my own chapters because I lose my own focus. Like just recently when things were just going so poorly, I just didn't know how I would possibly ever be able to make it to Kona. And then a week later, everything changes and I have no cancer and everything's fixed. So you really never know, what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, but you can control you control is an illusion, but you can do what you can today. And
That's
don't
right.
don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. You do what you need to do today. Nobody ever does a big thing. I didn't write this book overnight. It took
No.
13 months. So everybody can do little things, and every big thing is a series of little things. And,
Mhm.
if you're depressed or, you have a terminal disease or a diagnosis or anything that's keeping you down, I just encourage people to, get up and start moving, even if it's just cleaning your house or doing the dishes or laundry or just, motion has momentum and then
Mhm.
one thing leads to another and then you start knocking things off your list and you feel better. But it's an easy downward spiral to go into. And I kind of stayed off the internet. I don't do a lot of research.
Mhm.
I don't even have the name of my cancer. I just know it's colorectal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if you go into some of those, they start talking about lifespans and percentages and it's very depressing.
Yeah, it deflates you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I prefer not to do that. I'd rather
Understandable.
be talking to you guys and writing books and doing triathlons. So
Well, your motivation and positivity is just truly remarkable. Mm,
Mhm.
You had mentioned, in which I wholeheartedly agree with, it's much easier to be in a better headspace when you are moving.
yeah,
However, in those moments where like you're going through chemo, surgeries, all these really intense challenges, and you can't physically be moving,
yeah.
how do you work on your mindset and your positivity during those
I'm
periods?
still trying to figure that out because I'm just now, this last week, I got back to training and I probably had 5, 6 weeks off because of the blood clots and because of the surgery.
Mhm.
But I start to get easily agitated. I'm not the jovial, fun person to be around that I normally am. And my wife picks it up first. She's like, you got to get back on your bike or something because it's just a big piece of the puzzle missing for me.
Mhm.
And I haven't come up with a good strategy to deal, you know, without that. So, just sitting around waiting doesn't really work well for me at all. And I know like chemo for me, getting off the couch and even getting on the bike was such a challenge. But, once I was on the bike and I get 10 minutes in, and I have an indoor training bike right behind me. I don't go out on the roads, too crazy, dangerous, and chemo
Mhm.
messes with your reaction times and whatever. So I have a
Oh,
controlled
wow.
environment here. But once I'm 10 minutes in and the blood starts flowing, all the bad feelings go away. You just have to get through that first part and then you can get into the good stuff. So you see a lot of people go back to work, be like, "Why are you going to work?" or "Why are you doing?" Because it's what I've always done. I've been doing it for 4 decades. We're creatures of habit. I liked what I was doing before, so I'm just gonna. Cancer doesn't have to take over your life. You can go back to living your life the way you did. It's to the best you can. Some days you can't get off the couch. There were some days that I couldn't do anything, especially chemo week when you infuse on a Wednesday. Thursdays weren't so bad because you're still juiced up on all the precursors they give you. It's like the first 2 hours of in an infusion room is just precursors. They put stuff in your body so that will help your body take the really strong drugs they're about to give you.
Right, right.
And I'm on about I take about as much chemo as a human being can handle. Apparently, I have a great ability to eat chemo. But a lot of that comes down to your survival is whether or not you can handle chemo, and not everybody
Mhm.
can. And it's no fault of their own. I mean, I've seen people get on their third round and that's it. They can't do anymore. They just get violently ill and bodies can't take it. So
Yeah.
I credit triathlon, especially Ironman, a little bit with creating a mental toughness and a physical fitness that, I entered this physically, mentally, spiritually, financially fit with a wonderful wife, a beautiful family, a great support system. I have all these elements in place for me. And when I talk about fighting stage 4 cancer, it's not one thing, it's everything. You don't beat it with one thing, you beat it with everything. And that's, comes down to, your support system. I mean, if you're by yourself and you have to take care of yourself and maybe your insurance isn't that great and maybe you can't go to work because of your symptoms and because of your cancer, suddenly that financial pressure and everything else on top of it can really snowball into a nightmare. So I'm
Mhm.
fortunate in that sense that I've had all those elements in place when I came into it. So I come back from surgeries quicker than most. I just recover quick. I joke with people, if not for the stage 4 cancer, I'm perfectly healthy. My blood pressure, my organ functions, I mean, everything is perfect minus the cancer. So,
Yeah, I
but
hear
that's
that.
helpful. I mean, if you're not in the best of shape, or you've had some previous health issues, it can be a lot tougher to withstand the rigors of chemo and radiations and surgeries. And even for me, the mental aspect of constantly coming back from surgeries. I mean, I had spent the first 5 months of this year on chemo training, did a pretty good job of it too. I've got a coach that helps me, guides me, and I got most of those workouts in. But then you get 6 weeks off, and here I go. I got to start over again. So, my legs are feeling it, but it feels good to be back at it again.
Mhm.
Today I'll go over to the swimming pool for the first time in probably 8 weeks. So that'll be fun. See how that goes. But that's the final piece of the puzzle. If I can get the swim in and nothing bad happens, then it looks like I'll be okay for the next few months. And if I can get a couple good months of training, and I think I'll be okay when I get to Kona. So initially, my I had simplified my life beginning of 2026 and was only focusing on a couple of things. The first one was arrive alive in Kona, which it looks like I'm going to do,
Yeah.
with enough fitness to finish the race in under 17 hours, which it looks like I can probably pull off.
Mhm.
Promote the book, which I'm doing, and then raise $100,000 for the Ironman Foundation, which
Yeah.
is my fundraising goal. I'm about a quarter of the way there. So
Mhm.
I've dedicated the profits from the book to the fundraising goal, and we'll see how that goes. So
Mhm.
all part of the objective of whatever I'm doing here, that maybe it will help somebody. So if you read the book, maybe you get something out of it. But we know the profits go to the foundation. The
Mhm.
foundation has been around for over 20 years. They've distributed well over $60 million in 70 different countries, teaching kids to swim, giving kids bicycles, getting kids outside off the screens, teaching them the value of setting goals and such things. So really a great foundation, and just, again, part of giving back in the best of ways. So
Yeah.
it's just, the whole thing just feels good to me. And I hope I can go down there, finish this race, and, put that little cherry on top of this cake I've been baking for the last 2 years.
For sure.
Question is, what am I going to do on October 11th? I've got literally don't know what I'm going to do after that. So, but we'll
Oh,
see.
we're confident you'll find something. You
Yeah.
seem like the kind of driven person. You'll add something. There'll be a new horizon to chase.
Yeah. I think I'll continue to promote the book, and who knows? Like I said, I'm meeting so many people and going. Who knows what will happen? But that's kind of the joy of life, is not knowing what's going to happen next. And cancer created an urgency in my life and caused me to reevaluate everything, and to the point where cancer is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's also the best thing that's ever happened to me. I've never been more content with where I'm at in my life. And I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't trade the cancer diagnosis, because I'm much too happy with where I'm at. I don't want to give any of this up.
So when you say something like that, I know there's a lot of people who can't understand, can't wrap their mind around, the first half of it, no problem, cancer being the worst thing in your life. But when you say things like, earlier you were thankful for cancer, you say
Mhm.
it's the best thing for your life.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the ways in which that affects your discipline, right? Because you seem like a person who's very driven and goes after it. How do you know when to stop? How do you know when you've pushed yourself too far? Like, with the optimism you've demonstrated, it feels limitless.
Well,
But how do you know what your limit is?
physically, it's easy. Like in the case of my ostomy, when I went too far, my intestines popped out. So
Goodness.
you get that physical sign. Is like, okay. See, the thing about going too far is you don't know you've gone too far until you go too far.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Totally.
I'll go too far, and then you back off. You back off a little bit. You aim high as you can, and then if you fall short, you're still good wherever you land. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So I've always been probably overly optimistic. I like really lofty pursuits, things that seemingly are almost impossible. But you surprise yourself along the way. You'd be surprised. And I guess that's the message I would like to tell a lot of people is, if you're complacent in your life, if you're not happy with what's going on, you hear a lot of people talking about anxiety and depression, and they're not in pursuit of anything.
Mhm.
There's nothing meaningful that matters to you. Like, you're not chasing something that's just out of reach. It's
Right.
that, to me, is the greatest joy, especially, day one is always the hardest. starting something fresh day one is like, man, it's a huge mountain in front of you, and it's just, you're right at the bottom of it.
Mhm.
But as you get into it, you learn as you go, basically. And the theme in my book, the philosophy that I developed for myself, discipline, sacrifice, suffering, and pain, you can apply that to anything you do in your life. But if you don't have discipline, you can throw the other three away. They're meaningless. You won't matter without discipline. The real key is consistency. You got to be disciplined, but consistent over a long period of time. You don't need to make wild, big gestures or, in the case of nutrition, I see a lot, especially women with the fad diets. They want to lose weight fast. It's like, how about you lose it slow and it stays off? If you lose 20
That part.
pounds in 2 months, well, that's great for the bikini season, but you're going to put 30 on over the summer. How about if we lose 20 pounds in a year and it never comes back?
Yeah, yeah.
Just those little slow incremental. And unless you do it, you go through it once and then get success. Once that happens, then you'll continue to do it. But if you've never tried it, I was talking to someone the other day, and I always laugh about this. I was talking about, choosing optimism and positivity. And I said, yeah, I tried that once. It didn't work for me. It's like, I wonder why. Like,
Right.
but it's not, it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
What makes a life worth living is different. It's a question that everyone could answer differently and still be right. You don't have to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
you don't have to be totally motivated and driven. I mean, for some people, just having a decent job, a place to live, a good spouse, and well-adjusted children, a normal life that's enough. They
Yeah.
don't need all these grand gestures. That's just what keeps my mind off of all the negative stuff. But,
Sure.
being self-employed my whole life too, it's just, it's just the way it is. So, but you have the discipline. Once you have the discipline in place, you can execute a plan. And then you're going to have to make sacrifices. And this is where a lot of people stumble because you got to give stuff up. Sleep,
Mhm.
time, fun, whatever it is, food. But you're making the sacrifice for the greater good down the line. And then unfortunately, suffering and pain comes to us all. It's just part of being a human. Suffering and pain will come to you in your lifetime. You can train for it. You can invite it so that you're more prepared when the unwelcome, uninvited pain shows up, like
Mhm.
chemo and surgeries and things like this. Build your physical and mental fortitude. So when the storms do come, you're more prepared to weather the storm. Yeah, I never thought of it really that way. I just did these things because I love doing it. It's the reason I do Ironman triathlons because I love it. I get there's meaning in the suffering, there's joy in the pain, and, but you got to go through it.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have asked me, what happens when you're deep in a race, 8, 9, 10 hours, and it's really bad. It gets, that's what I came for.
Yeah.
That's why I did the previous 8 hours to get to this place where the growth and the learning and the understanding is all revealed. It's a strange thing when you cross a finish line after a long, hard race, all the pain goes away.
Mm.
It's gone. I don't know where it went, but it's on the other side of that finish line. Because when you cross the line, elation, joy, you've gone beyond where you thought you could, and then you begin to think, well, where are my limits?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Where are they? I mean, is it literally unlimited? So that kind of feeling is what inspires me. And even now, it's like I never thought I'd write a book. I never thought I'd go to Kona. So again, I was limited in my thought process on those things,
Right.
and now I'm doing these things, and it's like, okay, well, what's next? So that's what's spinning in my head now. Now that Kona's approaching, but I need to stay focused on the day in front of me.
Yeah, thank
I hear you talk about drive and having goals to pursue and living a meaningful life, and also maintaining that consistency even during the most difficult of times. But I can't help but wonder, how do you show yourself self kindness and give yourself grace in the periods where you can't be training for an Ironman because you're down
Yeah.
and out due to health
So
complications?
the two things that I became aware of after cancer, one, that I had become complacent in my life, that I wasn't using all my God-given skills and abilities to better everything in my life and the people around me. The other lesson I learned was humility. I didn't have a whole lot of humility previously. I wouldn't call it arrogance, cocky, whatever you want to call it. I used to joke that I lack humility, but I make up for it with overconfidence.
you.
So cancer will humble you. I'm nothing special, just a man. I can be taken down like anybody else. Initially, I thought that I could handle this on my own, that I would carry the burden myself. I didn't want to burden my wife, my family, my friends. When I realized that that was impossible, that I couldn't do it on my own, that I needed the help of others. I humbled myself and just accepted accept the facts with whatever the facts are for that day, that I need help, that I'm not going to be able to do this by myself. And there's some days I wasn't able to get out of bed, and
Mhm.
my wife was there to take care of me. And that's been one of the benefits of cancer, or maybe I could say, is that, my wife and I had a pretty good relationship, but watching the way she loves me and cares for me has been incredibly humbling. I'm so fortunate to have that kind of a person in my life. We've been through a lot over 30 years, but this definitely bonded us in a way that's, to another level. And to have someone love and care for you like that, and for me, the leader, the protector, the provider, to be laying in bed and to have to allow the people that I protect and provide and care for me. It's been just, an incredible realization that I have these people that love me so much, and friends and family and people that I haven't heard from in years, reaching out with all that deep love and affection and prayers. It's been, again, is the gift. It's one of the gifts that cancer gave me, make me realize I must have done something right in my life, because I have a lot of good friends. I have a lot of family that love me and care for me and support me, and now I've allowed them to do that. So I think when you try to take everything on yourself, you steal from the people who love you, because the only thing they can do is help you. And if you don't let them do that, then you're leaving them out of the process.
Mhm.
So, that's the relationship, the strengthening of my relationships with everybody from friends to family has been just another great gift that I wouldn't trade for anything. You talk about complacency, even with a 30-year marriage. I didn't come home every day and tell my wife how much I love her and how important she is to me. I do that every day now,
Right.
because I do have that deep realization that time is short. We don't know how much we get. And she needs to know how much I appreciate her, how I feel about her. And what you get back in return is 10 times, because she returns those same feelings. And what could be better? There's nothing better. I tell you, there's the only thing in life that matters is relationships and the people that you are closest to. You take care of those things, and then have some personal pursuits. I think you generally have a happy life.
Talk to us a bit about the legacy you hope to live
Let's
or
w
leave, rather.
the main thing that, one of the main driving factors in what I do and how I do it is that I have a 21-year-old son. I've spent 21 years teaching him how to live, and the last lesson I'll teach him is how to die. Hopefully, every parent gets that chance, because you don't wanna bury your kids before you. So
That's
my
right.
my son is watching me, how I handle a terminal disease, and he thinks I'm Superman, so nobody between him and my wife, they don't think cancer has a chance.
Love that.
And so far, so good. So that's what my wife says is, as long as I look good and I'm feeling good and I'm doing the things I'm doing, she's not worried a bit. So cancer
Mhm.
has done some damage, but I keep coming out on top. But
Yeah.
speaking of legacy, my son, he's the driving force behind a lot of what I do, because I know he's watching. And like with a lot of youngsters, they don't so much listen to what you say; they watch what you do.
They watch.
And so I try to live by example, with constantly being in my mind that my son is watching this, and that this will be the last lesson I teach him.
That's profound.
Very much so. And I do think you are Superman.
Hey,
I have a Superman shirt, so I do have the shirt.
got you.
Yeah. But I do all this mostly for me, like I said. But at the same time, while I was, I didn't get cancer and turn into this guy. I was this guy before cancer.
Believe it.
Cancer just made me hit the gas on it and then share it with more people. Mostly I did it for myself and friends or people. My sons, back when they were 18 or whatever, they were seniors in high school. And, some of the kids don't have the best relationships with their parents. And one of them was turning 18, and they asked Luke. Luke said, "What do you want for your birthday?" And the kid said, "Can I get 30 minutes with your dad?" He just wanted to talk to me for 30 minutes, because every time he talked to me, he felt bigger, better, taller, more optimistic. And so
Come on.
I thought that was pretty awesome. But that's what I would like to do. I think at past October 10th is see if I can help focus, inspire, motivate this younger generation that seems a little bit lost. They're
Hmm.
they're they're in pursuit of nothing except for what's next on Instagram or whatever social media stuff is going, which I don't have a
Yes.
great understanding for. We grew up without it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to meet people, you actually had to go out and go somewhere to meet them. For a while there, it was, the gyms had opened up in the 80s, and that was like a big social thing. You go to the gym, and it was more socializing than it was working out. Maybe it still is. I don't know. But bars were the same way. I heard the other day they're not doing happy hour, like eliminated nobody does happy hour anymore. 9 to 5 isn't so much a thing. So it used to be Friday nights after work, people would go, or Thursday, whatever, you get that half price drinks and maybe
Mhm.
cheap wings or something, and everyone would go commiserate, but nobody does that anymore because you
Yeah.
could just go home and be on your computer or FaceTime so
Mhm.
it's different times. But I see a lot of youngsters, a lot of young kids, especially some of my son's friends, just kind of wandering around aimlessly in their 20s. Is like, when I
Mhm.
was in my 20s, we didn't have anything. We lived broke and we were happy as hell. You
Yeah.
literally couldn't smack the smile off my face. I mean, peanut butter sandwiches for lunch. We all chip in money for pizza and beer on Friday night or whatever the deal was.
Uh-huh.
And now these kids have everything and they're not happy. So,
Yeah.
but it's all just a matter of mindset, So you don't need a lot of stuff to be content or to be happy.
Truly.
So it comes back to relationships. If you have good relationships and you surround yourself with the right people, that's like 99% of the battle right there.
No question.
And I didn't intentionally do it throughout my life, but fortunately, that's where I ended up with some pretty good folks around me. So
Mhm.
that makes you feel good. So
Mhm.
one of the questions I ask people is, if you were given a choice to die quietly, suddenly in your sleep, no pain, just go to sleep, don't wake up. That would be easy for you, but hard for everyone you leave behind.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
would you rather go through what I'm going through, surgeries and chemos, but you get the time?
Right.
The time to me is way more valuable. If I'd have died suddenly, it would have left a giant crater over here as far as my son and my wife and
Mhm.
everybody. It just wouldn't have been good. Whereas by the time I die, there's nothing left to be said. We knew it was coming. I even joked about doing my own eulogy or even maybe having my funeral before I die so I could attend.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing though. That's a real thing. It's not a bad idea.
No, it's like, oh, I wish I had one more thing, one more conversation. It's like, well, here's your chance.
And there it is.
But yeah, so like I said, we're all gonna die eventually, and once you stop thinking about it, if you don't have a terminal disease, you don't think about it at all. I never really thought about it. Nobody wants to think about it or talk about it, but that's another thing I tell people is, it's not a bad conversation to have if you have a couple little kids, and what would happen if one or the other spouse dies? Would you be able to carry on? Would you be able to stay in your house? Would you be able to keep the kids in the same school and all that stuff?
Mhm.
So it doesn't take much to put a couple of policies in place that can guarantee, a decent transition. So you lose somebody important, but then you lose your house and you have to move and all this other stuff too. So
Right.
fortunately, I was prepared for that aspect of it. Like I said, all those other pieces of the puzzle were in place. So all I have to do is focus on staying positive and then believing in the process. Like I don't know what's going to work or what's not going to work, but I know the doctors don't know either. Like my doctor Jia, she's a great oncologist. She's a little Chinese lady. She's been doing it forever. And initially, she didn't like the idea of me doing Ironmans, long distance endurance. She didn't
Right.
think it was going to be good for treatment. And I've won her over in the past couple of years. Now she's all in on it because my blood work looks better than everybody else's blood work, and that's all they do in the infusion room. They hit you with the chemicals and they take blood once a week and they see where you're at.
Yeah.
They read the blood. So my blood work is better than everybody else's as far as white blood cells and all the other markers. So
Mhm.
there's probably something to the long distance endurance, the fitness that it enhances treatment. As
Mhm.
opposed to being a detriment, it enhances the treatment. But there's no research really on stage 4 Ironmans because they couldn't put a pool of people together. Too many people would die, and
Yeah.
nobody with stage 4 wants to do this stuff.
No.
So I'm in a category of my own, doing my own research. But again, I just do it for me because that's what I like to do. If it makes me live longer, great. But one of the things that some people have said to me is, I live this health and fitness lifestyle my whole life, and here I get cancer. And there's people that have not lived the health and fitness lifestyle, and they don't have cancer.
Right.
And I said, well, you're maybe a little confused. You think I did the health and fitness thing to add years to my life. I did it to add life to my years. I never thought when I'm training that this is going to make me live longer. I do it first and foremost because I love it and I love the benefits of it, the feelings of it. I love the daily discipline of it,
Mhm.
the lifestyle that I've developed and all that. But, you know, maybe to help me live longer, maybe it won't. That was never the purpose.
Jim, you're a wealth of wisdom, and I'm really excited to read your book.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you. It's on Amazon. The book is Just Keep Trying. See a little play
Love
on
it.
words there, a little play
There
on
it
words,
is. There it is.
TRI-ING. And I
That's
think
right.
the message is universal. You don't have to be an Ironman to benefit from the idea that regardless of where you are in your life, you really don't have a choice whether you like it or not. You got to keep trying. Sometimes you can't see the finish line and it seems pointless what you're doing. But if you're pointed in the right direction and you get up and you start trying, you'll be surprised what you accomplish.
Hmm.
It was like that for me. I was in my darkest moments in the first 6 months of diagnosis, not knowing where any of this was leading, but knowing that I had to keep doing triathlons, which is what led me to the foundation, which is what led me to the World Championship. And then writing the book and using the profits to support the foundation, it all just seemed to come together perfectly.
Hmm.
And I didn't know why I was doing the things I was doing, but then this beautiful thing comes out of it. Sometimes when you start, you don't know where it's headed. But then
Hmm.
when you get into it and you can kind of see it developing, if I can go down there and finish this race, publish this book, that's just a beautiful thing that would not have happened without cancer.
Sure.
And I could have just sat on the couch and waited to die, and then none of this would have happened. Or you can
Right.
get up and make good use of whatever time you have left. And that's what I do now. So I'm just, I'm really happy for each day that I get. I don't really, as hard as it is, I try not to think about tomorrow. If I do what I need to do today, then tomorrow will take care of itself. So just make sure you're pointed in the right direction.
That's right.
You don't want to be tried, kid. You'll just keep trying, but moving in the wrong direction, which sometimes that happens. You know, uh, I always just say, people say, you got a problem? I said, nope, just solutions. I go straight from problem to solution because the minute you do, the problem goes away. It doesn't even have to be the best solution. You could start working on a solution and realize it's not the right solution and then change it in
Right.
process. But when you dwell on a problem, it gets bigger and then it just becomes a mental pain. But being
The headache.
self-employed kind of made me that way. I'm the only guy in my business. So if I don't take care of it, no one else will.
Not gonna happen. Right.
Jim, I think we're going to have you back on after you complete that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Get
Two-parter.
the follow-up, man, for sure. Because that day for me, I've been dreaming of the Ironman World Championship since 1982. So for me, this is the personal part of it. Crossing that line is personal to me.
Yeah.
And there's that race is really exclusive. The World Championship, there's only 2,500 people in the race. Half of them are women and 10% are pros. So about 1,100 men from around the world, and there's millions and millions of people trying to get in.
Of course.
To be included is an incredible honor, and there's rare few people that have ever stepped foot on that course. So it's a big deal. I'll be an emotional mess when I cross the line, a lifelong achievement, and
Yeah.
and proving the point that anything's possible.
Hmm.
You just got to keep trying. You'd be surprised what you can accomplish. You'd be surprised how strong you are and capable you are. And if, like me, you've become complacent in your life and you're wondering why maybe you're not as happy as you used to be, you're not pursuing anything. You got nothing you're
Hmm.
chasing after. You shouldn't need an alarm clock to get up in the morning. You should be so excited about the day's events that you, like a kid at Christmas time, you just can't wait for the sun to come up
Doubt.
and just find something, whatever it is. For me, it's triathlon. For you, it could be chess, it could be pickleball. Find whatever your passion is, and then sink yourself into that.
Hmm.
And the people, the service and the giving away and helping people. That's really the greatest joy in life because of what you get back. And a lot of times you don't see that part of it. I initially wrote the book to help other people, and it turns out it's going to help me more than any of them
Well, it's
which
truly an
just
inspiration.
encourages me to keep going. So we'll see how many people I can reach, and we'll see how long I can hold cancer off.
Yeah.
For sure.
I have all the faith in the world in you. Jim, thank you so much for being here and being so open and honest with sharing your story. You truly are an incredible person and such an inspiration. It's been wonderful
Absolutely.
talking to you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Chris. What a pleasure meeting you guys. That's been another unexpected benefit is each time I do a podcast, I get to meet some really cool new people that I would not have met otherwise. So it's just great meeting you guys as well. I really appreciate you sharing my story. I'll email you the links for my book and my social media so you can follow me on Instagram, follow this.
Hmm.
I post almost every day about what I got going on and if I'm on track or not. So, regardless of what happens, I'm going to go to Kona and we'll see
Yes.
what happens. But they can't do anything. Nothing can happen in 17 hours that I haven't already been through. So
Come on.
I'll be mentally, physically, spiritually stronger than I've ever been when I start that race, and
Hmm.
just really looking forward to it. So, thanks for sharing. Hopefully, at least we'll meet my one goal. At least one person will get something out of this. So,
That's right. We'll
Yeah.
be cheering you on.
thank you so much.
Very much so. To our community, make sure you check out invigorateyourjourney.com. We have resources and support to help you through your chronic illness journey. Until next time, take care. Peace.